obviously there were a lot of moves made, but there is still a lot of moves still to be made. We still have a lot of big name free agents that are still available. I'm talking Cody Bellinger, Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, Matt Chapman. All those guys at the timing of this recording are unsigned. And may I also share that those four guys share the same agent in Scott Boras. So, Dylan, how are you feeling so far about the somewhat slow off season and guys still unsigned? And we're in the heart of spring training.
It's not good. It's not good for the sport. You need deadlines when it comes to signing players in the off season. There needs to be something that goes on, whether it's a deadline or something in terms of free agent signings. I went to the Cubs convention in January, and I sat there it was the front office convention thing that they had, a little 2-hour meeting with Jed Hoyer, the president of baseball operations, general manager Carter Hawkins as well there. And they talked about how deadlines speed things up in the sport, which needs to be done. They did it on the field with the pitch clock and stuff like that. But I'm talking off the field here in the offseason. There was a deadline for Shota Imanaga to sign a deal, the Japanese star out of Japan that went and signed with the Chicago Cubs. There was a deadline for him to sign on a January Friday. And if he didn't sign, he was going back to Japan. So what happens? He gets signed that day. There's deadlines and it works. You look at the trade deadline, players get traded at a certain time. That's what you need in this sport to speed up the offseason. If not, you're going to have guys out there for years upon years just waiting. We saw Dallas Keuchel a couple years ago wait until August to sign with the Atlanta Braves. Craig Kimbrell did the same thing with the Cubs. And these players, the problem with it is the players want so much money, especially the Boras clients. They want to drive up the price range. And these clubs are like, okay, we'll just wait. Like, there's a waiting game being played. Both of them are standing there with their hands behind their back saying, I'm not budging. Cody Bellinger still doesn't have an offer on the table, Abe. There was a baseball game that took place on Thursday, and he doesn't have an offer on the table. There's a problem, whether we see it or not. There is.
I like where you're going there, but I disagree. We'll have to disagree here. And I'm going to tell you why there can't be a deadline. It can't happen. So all the power would be in ownership's hands. Owners can lowball a player dramatically, and a player would have no choice but to accept the offer because of the deadline. Making a free agency deadline, I would promise you, would end up in a lockout, and we don't want that. So I'm going to ask Rob Manfred to tread carefully here because the MLBPA, we know it as the strongest union in all the sports, and that is true. And the strongest union in all of sports is not going to give up that much leverage. A deadline would essentially give owners all the leverage, and that can happen. So the market value for a player, and essentially, he can't get what he wants. And I think that should be okay for a player if he wants to wait out for the money that he wants. He's in the free agent market, meaning that if ownership or the club wants to give him that, then that can happen. But if you want to start restricting guys and restricting players to when they can sign, that's going to drop their value. They already have to wait 6 years until they can hit free agency. Now you want to have a forced hand on free agency. That's not going to go over well.
I still disagree with that take. I mean, I see where you're coming from in terms of the player getting lowballed, but there comes a time where sometimes everyone knows your value. This is stupid money that we're playing with here in the baseball world. That's why the sport takes so long in terms of their offseason. This is money you've never seen given out in any other sport outside of max contracts in the NBA. The best hockey player in the world is making like 8 years, $86 million. There's like in hockey, you're not making any money. Football, the star quarterbacks get paid, the pass rushers, stuff like that. But baseball's a sport where you only get, maybe you hit only 1 out of 4, you get 4 at bats a game, and you play so many games throughout the course of the year, but you're still only one player in terms of 9 in the lineup, and you're making all this money. So there comes a time where you have to realize that things need to be done in this sport. It's a slow enough sport on the field. It's got to speed up in the off season. There has to be something that changes in terms of getting getting things done. In terms of a deadline, I just think it needs to happen. This has gone on for too many years. We saw so many years players just keep waiting and waiting.
Bryce Harper.
forever. Yeah, Harper. He took forever to sign. And once again, another Boris guy there. So these Boris clients are just, I mean, he gets the money out of them at the end of the day.
He gets the job done.
It's annoying as a fan just to sit back and be like, you know what? This is just complete and utter donkey stuff. Like we're not talking about this. It's ridiculous.